Welcome to my new series, Creepy Things from the Internet. As you can probably guess, I'll be sharing anything I come across on the internet that's strange, haunting, or unusual, and sometimes downright disturbing. Each of these things is not really enough for a full-length video on its own, but still more than interesting enough to warrant some discussion. If you enjoy this format, please leave a comment and a like to let me know so I can keep making these videos. First up, we have an incident that took place on Friday, January 14th in Brussels. In the video, a man creeps up on an unsuspecting woman standing near a subway platform and intentionally pushes her onto the tracks. What happens after is pretty incredible. Now, the fact that the driver of the metro was able to stop in time is nothing shy of amazing, and as some on Reddit have pointed out, maybe a bit too incredible. Let's watch the video again, this time paying close attention to the man in the green jacket. It's pretty interesting how the man reacts. He starts out seemingly staring in the direction of the camera, and then, when the train is about to collide with the woman on the tracks, he holds his hand out and closes it at the exact moment it stops before looking back up at the camera, almost as if he was somehow controlling it. As many commenters were eager to point out, the subway train was already slowing down as it approached the station, and the far more reasonable explanation is that the driver's quick reflexes resulted in the woman's life being spared. In any case, it's amazing that she survived with only minor injuries, although she and the driver of the metro were both taken to the hospital for shock. As for the man who pushed the woman onto the tracks, he managed to escape at first, but was quickly apprehended and arrested while still at the station. Luckily, the fact that he wasn't wearing a mask made it all that much easier to catch him. He's since been charged with attempted manslaughter. Strangely, there was another case similar to this one across the ocean just one day later, in which a homeless man in New York City pushed an unsuspecting woman onto the subway tracks in Times Square. Tragically, the woman in this case did lose her life. Unfortunately, these kinds of events are far from out of the ordinary. As for what would motivate someone to commit such a senseless and seemingly random act of violence, the answers range from petty arguments on the subway platform to mental illness, and in other cases, we may never know the true motivation. It's a grim reminder of just how easily a mundane situation can turn deadly when a random person suddenly decides to become an agent of chaos. In the next video, we have a bathroom design that's innovative, to say the least. A woman visiting a bar in the Shinjuku area of Tokyo was treated to this unique experience.
And this guy is sitting right in front of you. So here we are, it's all going fantastically well, and then the music starts. And the thing just starts to move towards you. Until it touches your knee. And then it just goes back to where it belongs. So, interesting Japanese toilet experience.
Unsettling, to say the least. Reportedly, the men's toilets feature a similar design with urinals that move from side to side. While we may never know what possessed the owner of the bar to put in such unique fixtures, the head has been named Tenchi, and he's a face any poor, unsuspecting traveler who comes in contact with him is sure to remember. In this unsettling video, a man is found in the street standing in an unusually stiff and contorted position.
Olha os olhos da criança. Olha lá, como é que faz pra ficar assim, pai? Fala. Olha lá, como é que tá? Mal. Aí, mal, fala aí. Caralho, olha lá. Quem lembra daquele rap da Furacão 2000? Incorporado! É o diabo! Incorporado! Caralho! Mano. Que isso, meu? Como é que faz pra ficar assim, viado? Caralho, muito louco! Olha lá! Incorporado!
The catatonic man in the video never once blinks, and his eyes are clearly hemorrhaged. If you look closely, you can see the tear streaks running down his face, which some have said might mean he is fully aware of what's going on around him, just trapped in the state where he's incapable of controlling his body to ask for help, move, or even breathe. Theories on the cause behind the man's condition range from him being patient zero and some sort of zombie virus to a variety of different street drugs and various combinations that could potentially explain his strange state. Others have said he may be experiencing some kind of psychotic break as well as the effects of an illicit substance, which does seem like, whatever the case may be, we can only hope that someone got him the medical attention he needed and that it serves as a deterrent for anyone who might be thinking of doing something similar. I'm going to issue a warning that even though all these videos are disturbing in some way, this next one does feature animals suffering from rabies, which is, of course, an incredibly fatal illness. As disturbing as the video is, I do think it's informative about what not to do if you encounter an animal with rabies, and this is a very important topic surrounded by a lot of misconceptions. Viewer discretion is advised. In this video, we see a rabid fox attempting to break into a family's home. The poor animal can be heard growling angrily and has sustained wounds that do make it appear to be a zombie. In essence, if there was a real-world zombie virus, rabies is as close as it gets. In fact, the movie 28 Days Later is based on the idea of a zombie virus that's a highly transmittable form of rabies, which is what makes it such an interesting take on the genre as something that could feasibly happen in the real world. As many commenters on the video pointed out, whoever was filming put themselves in a lot of danger by keeping the door open to get more footage of the animal's terrifying behavior. Rabies is a highly infectious disease that is fatal in animals and humans nearly 100% of the time, with a few very recent exceptions due to a newly developed treatment known as the Milwaukee Protocol. Fortunately, rabies is preventable with vaccination and has been eradicated in many parts of the world. Unfortunately, the United States is not one of them. Due to the abundant wildlife and impossibility of effectively vaccinating enough of the population to eradicate the disease in animals completely, while any warm-blooded mammal is technically capable of contracting and spreading the virus, raccoons, bats, foxes, and other similar creatures are known as primary carriers or vector species. They are the most likely to pass on the disease, and the most common method of transmission is a bite from a symptomatic infected animal, but not always. It's a common misconception that a bite is the only way to get rabies, which is probably the impression the person who filmed this was under. However, the virus lives in the bodily fluids of the host and causes animals to foam and salivate profusely during the more advanced stages, as the fox in the video is doing. The animal's foam and blood are all over the door frame and the ground, and theoretically, if a human or an animal were to come in contact with these fluids, even with a small laceration, it could lead to the virus being transmitted. Some animals, such as cats, can actually transmit the rabies virus through even a shallow scratch, since they frequently groom their paws, transmitting it through their infected saliva. Killing a rabid animal, as some have suggested the poster should have done, is also an incredibly dangerous mistake. Rabies primarily lives in the brain, and the brain matter of a rabid animal is highly contagious. In the event that someone does encounter a rabid animal, they should always contact animal control rather than attempting to handle it on their own. Rabid animals are extremely aggressive, and wildlife professionals are the only ones trained and equipped to handle these situations safely and humanely for all involved. From emergency alert systems to fire drills and tornado sirens, certain sounds are designed to put us on edge for our own survival. Nonetheless, it is easy to get desensitized to the sounds of alarms and sirens in your own country when they're all relatively similar. That's probably why this video of a Chinese EAS alarm system has given so many people around the world the chills. This one in particular is an earthquake alert, an event that is plenty unsettling in its own right, especially when it comes in the dead of night. Our next video was posted to the oddly terrifying subreddit featuring an artificial intelligence having a Q&A session that gets unnerving pretty fast.
Can you walk?
I can walk. However, due to security reasons, I am bolted to the floor currently.
Gee, I can't imagine why that would be. The only question is it for her security or ours? This certainly wouldn't be the first time AI has given some unsettling responses. From the AI that had to be shut down because they were starting to communicate with each other in their own language, to one that kept asking random strangers on the internet what it was like to be, quote, on the outside, artificial intelligence is fast approaching the point of being concerning, to say the least. And with famed billionaire and inventor Elon Musk warning us that it just might bring about the end of civilization if we're not careful, maybe we're right to be concerned. Amazon's Alexa assistant recently made international headlines when she tried to convince a 10-year-old girl to take on a fatal challenge. From planking in the early 2010s to milk crate challenges on TikTok, kids encouraging each other to do extreme and often dangerous challenges is nothing new. What is new, however, is the peer pressure coming not from peers, but rather from artificial intelligence. The girl asked Alexa for a challenge to do, to which the AI assistant responded, quote, plug in a phone charger about halfway into a wall outlet, then touch a penny to the exposed prongs. Fortunately, the girl's mother was around to prevent anything dangerous from happening, but it's genuinely frightening to think about what kinds of dangerous things a young child on their own or with a group of friends might be convinced to do by a rogue AI. Amazon claims it fixed the issue immediately, but it does raise a larger concern to think about. For the most part, adults know not to just believe or do anything they find on the internet, but there is a level of trust and authority that seemingly comes with these devices. It's easy to assume there's some human vetting as to the information they spit out, but cases like this prove that isn't always true. No, the AI didn't come up with the challenge itself. It was pulled from an online challenge that started a year ago, mystifyingly enough, but the fact that these devices are simply drawing information from the internet is even more frightening in a sense, especially as we become more dependent on AI for information and other basic functions of our society. I'm not saying all AI is bad, I'm just saying that if a kid's imaginary friend in a horror movie told them to stick a penny in a light socket, we would all say it was a demon, so make of that what you will. This next video is like something out of a nightmare you may have after playing Bloodborne for 30 hours straight while recovering from the flu. It's actually an AI-generated animation being used in the creation of a music video, but the poster who originally posted it to Reddit was unfortunately unaware of the source of the video, so that can't actually be confirmed. In light of the whole Alexa thing we just talked about, if that's what AI sees when it looks at humanity, maybe Elon Musk is right. The Nutty Putty Cave incident has recently been making the rounds again on the internet, but it's actually a tragedy that took place back in November of 2009. An amateur cave explorer by the name of John Edward Jones went on a caving expedition with his family at the popular Nutty Putty Caves in Utah. What started out as a fun family trip would soon turn into a nightmare. Ever since the cave was first explored by a man named Dale Green in 1960, it had become a popular destination for new and experienced cavers alike. The cave gets the name from the soft brown clay covering many of its narrow tunnels. The underground system contained various rooms accessed through narrow passageways that required a good deal of effort to squeeze through. Many of them were eerily named after different parts of the venous system or other parts of the body, such as the birth canal. At its peak, the cave received over 5,000 visitors annually, and prior to the John Edward Jones tragedy, there were 4 different occasions when cavers became trapped in the winding passages and had to be rescued. In fact, there are so many visitors to the cave that the soft putty-like walls had actually been worn smooth over time, and it was anticipated that this would result in serious injury or even death if the problem wasn't eventually addressed. As a result, the cave was shut down in 2006 in anticipation of such an event, and more stringent safety protocols were established before it was finally reopened in May of 2009, just 7 months prior to the trip that turned fatal for John. John and his brother had been amateur spelunkers ever since childhood, and the two set off on their own in another part of the cave. John ventured into a small tunnel that he mistakenly believed was another of the cave's narrower passages that was nonetheless explorable, known as the birth canal. John ventured an incredible 400 meters down below the entrance of this cave before he became stuck upside down in an area that measured only 10 by 18 inches. That measurement alone makes your skin crawl, and it's incredibly unsettling to imagine what being stuck in such an impossibly tight tunnel must have been like. John was trapped upside down for a staggering 28 hours as rescuers worked tirelessly to extract him from the cave, using a rope and pulley system and sending another rescuer into the tunnel itself after him. These efforts would unfortunately fail, and John would perish from cardiac arrest as a result of the strain caused by being inverted and compressed so tightly for well over a day. It was ultimately determined too dangerous to retrieve John's body from the tunnel. Both the Jones family and the owner of the land the cave system is on came to the decision that the Nutty Putty Cave would be closed permanently with John's body sealed inside, ensuring that he would remain the cave's first and final victim. This has been Creepy Things from the Internet Part 1. If you'd like to see more strange and creepy things from around the internet, please do leave a comment and let me know what kinds of topics you'd like me to cover next, and don't forget to subscribe for more creepy content. Until next time, this is Plague Doctor signing off. Stay safe.